Hey guys, it's D.I.D. Choi here today with a quick tip on how to make your reverbs fantastic sounding. Because reverbs are hard. Usually you want lots of reverb, but if you have too much it gets too muddy. But there is a way to make your reverbs just right, very wet, but not muddy, right? And there are a couple of components that go into this, so let's dive right in and take a look. This reverb technique is mostly applicable to lead vocals. It could also be a lead instrument or some kind of featured thing, or you might be able to get away using it just in general on even like a mix bus. But today we are going to take a look at applications for its use on a lead vocal. Okay, so if you look here, I have a vocal recording here. This is from a song that I did for a production library. Very kind of rough singing on purpose. It's about a gold miner missing home and being very sad about all the time that he has missed. So let's just take a look at this chorus and we'll listen to how the lead vocal sounds. Please don't judge my singing.
Time, 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 all the rage. The lonely miners love, 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 all misplaced. Dreams of her, a whispered tune, alert his soul, under this crescent moon.
So from listening, you can tell that there is quite a bit of reverb on the vocal, but it doesn't really get in the way. Cha-ching! This is my reverb channel strip, and this is why. So we will break it down. So what I'll do is I'm going to take all these effects off and we can basically go from scratch. So as you can see, this is my lead vocal bus. So my lead vocal is this, and it's going into this bus. I do this method because sometimes I have more than one lead vocal track. Maybe I might have one track for the verse, one track from the chorus. In this particular track, everything's just on one thing, so it doesn't really matter. It could just go straight from this audio track, but it's just easier to have the sends routed on the bus rather than the individual track so that there's more flexibility and I can put more things into the bus. Okay, so here we are. I'm just sending to this one right here. Let's start building the channel strip. So you might have heard of the Abbey Road technique. I kind of use a variation of that in which before I even go into a reverb, I cut a whole bunch of stuff. So I do quite a deep cut, maybe around 200 hertz and a high cut. Usually I go down all the way to maybe around 2, 3, maybe 4, 5, somewhere around there. So essentially I'm getting rid of all of the sibilance so that the sibilance doesn't go into the reverb, and I'm getting rid of all of the low end mud. In the Abbey Road technique, I believe they also do a bit of a cut at, I think it was 1K, can't remember. But you know, use your ear, do what you want to do. Usually I find that I don't really need a cut there, but to each their own. Okay, next thing I'm going to add a reverb. My reverb of choice for vocals tends to be Valhalla Vintage Verb. You know, I'm not going to play with the settings too much right now, but just so we can really hear the reverb later on, I'm just going to do a 4-second long reverb. I'm just going to cut the lows again, make sure nothing gets muddy. Okay, and now the really sweet, sweet sauce. This is the most important part of this whole technique. You add a compressor. It can be any compressor as long as it has a sidechain input. I like to use the Waves compressor here, a C1 compressor. I set the sidechain to my vocal bus. Now this is my full template, so it has a whole bunch of stuff. Is that my lead vocal bus? No? Apparently it's bus 59, okay. Bus 59, here we are. This is why having stuff organized in name is very important, but anyways, so here is what I do. I usually do a pretty heavy ratio. You know, let's go with around 8 for now. Take the threshold down. Release, I want a kind of longer release. I might do somewhere between 200 to 300, and attack pretty quick. It's already very quick, so I'll just leave it there. And I don't really touch the makeup gain because that's not really the point of this exercise. But let's take a listen to how this sounds so far. I'm going to turn off the sidechain first.
Time, 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 all erased. A lonely miner's love, 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 all misplaced.
So you can hear the reverbs ringing out, and it's kind of really competing with the vocal without this compression. But with the sidechain compressor on, what it does is every time my voice comes out, it ducks the reverb. Every time my voice is finished, it slowly brings it back in through a course of about 300 milliseconds, depending on what your release is. All right, so now I'm going to activate it and set the threshold. Let's see what it sounds like.
Time, 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 all erased. A lonely miner's love, 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 all misplaced.
A little longer
Dreams
release,
of
actually.
a whispered tune, burdened soul under this crescent moon.
Yeah, so what the release does is it kind of guides how much the reverb fades in. So under this crescent moon, and that's the reverb kind of thing. So always make sure you're listening. I thought 2 to 300 would be enough, but for this particular case, I thought 370 sounded a lot better. This threshold is going to depend on how much you're sending. So some people like to just send it a full healthy signal and have a more reasonable threshold.
Time, 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 all erased. A lonely miner's love, 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 all.
And then they'll blend in the amount of reverb using this fader here.
Time, 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 all erased. A lonely miner's love, 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 all misplaced. Dreams of her, a whispered tune, burdened soul under this crescent moon.
Right? So that's how you get really big reverbs on a vocal, but not have anything muddy. Essentially, you can only hear the reverb during the tail after a phrase, right? And this method also totally works for delays, so that when you're singing, the delays are very muted, and then when you're finished singing, it comes in, you know? So definitely experiment with sidechain compressors on top of your reverb. And then to make it a little more natural, so that you don't really hear the compressor working, I like to send this reverb to another reverb that's very similar. And here I actually use the room reverb so that it just feels like it's in a nice space, and just send like a decent amount of it into it so that with this reverb too now, it just smooths it over just a little bit more.
Time, 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 all erased. A lonely miner.
And then I also have on the original bus some just going straight to this room reverb, a very, very small amount, but I thought that felt more natural as well.
Time, 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 all erased. A lonely miner's love.
So you can really hear that tail. Let's hear it in the full mix now.
Time, 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 all erased. A lonely miner's love, 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 all misplaced. Dreams of her, a whispered tune, burdened soul under this crescent moon.
So there you go. That is how you make very, very wet sounding reverb without getting too muddy, without getting too messy, keeping all the clarity while having a beautiful long tail. So definitely use this technique. It's used everywhere, pop records, soundtracks, everything. So definitely a cool one to have in your arsenal. If this video helped you, leave a comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. This has been D.I.D. Choi, and I'll see you in the next one.